Hello, everyone. Today we are joined by Paul Zoda. He has over 20 years of experience in areas of cybersecurity, telecommunications, networking, and cloud computing. He has held a variety of roles, including software engineering, system engineering, and has been a sales engineer specializing in security for the last 10 years. He holds a bachelor's degree in computer science from Cal Poly State University, San Luis Obispo, and a master's degree in engineering management from Santa Clara University.
Okay, I'd like to thank everyone for joining. The topic today is networking and security and a unified threat management architecture. My name is Paul Zoda, and I'm a solutions architect for Rahi Systems. I have about 12 years in the security space, protecting Fortune 100 companies, as well as two of the 5 defense contracting firms. So this webinar discusses the convergence of security and networking to make your infrastructure more threat aware by extending security to all points of connections across the network using Juniper's network connected security approach. It stops threats using all of your networking devices, including routers, switches, firewalls, and security enforcement points. So what you'll get out of this is learning about a design architecture for a threat-aware infrastructure to protect endpoints, networking elements, and cloud environments, how to identify and remediate both known and unknown types of malware, and implementing sandboxing techniques for advanced malware detection. So we're going to be covering our partner Juniper's solutions, and they cover centralized management, next generation firewall services, IPS, web filtering, application awareness, and AV gateway. We'll also discuss advanced threat protection and why it's needed, where AV signatures end and zero-day threats need to be stopped before lateral progression can start. So stop the ransomware before anything bad happens. And finally, Chani Agrawal is going to give a demonstration of JATP. So Juniper Connected Security, threat-aware infrastructure. Today, enterprises have evolved and they're not just looking for one point solution. Rather, it's a stack of specialized security products defined such as defense in depth, IPS, endpoint detection, and advanced malware protection. So the question is, how do we connect all of these security competencies that live in the cloud or on data centers and cater to dynamic workloads that are moving from campus or on-prem and to the cloud? So Juniper Connected Security is an open umbrella. It helps not only connect, but also to get visibility. It's an open platform that integrates well with security products in the industry that help analyze, and when there is evidence of how a threat occurred and how it propagates through the network, there's also a lot of automation built into the system that helps identify the issues and correlates and propagates data of the network and then pushes out policy. The fact that MX and SRX or campus switches, they all run the same OS, Junos, and they're API driven and consistent on how you would automate and build workloads. So Juniper is differentiated because you are working with just one vendor rather than a bunch of products that are not unified. So the power of connected security is that it's open, it's a single pane of glass, and integrates well with all security solutions on the market. So Juniper is trying to stop the idea that networking is just dumb plumbing. The whole idea is to create additional security enforcement points beyond just the firewall and how they go about doing that. So how do we stop the lateral spread of malware? Dumb plumbing doesn't care if it's malware or regular traffic. If there's a call for it, it'll go east-west on you. Also, being able to automate how malware is being stopped is very important. You want to stop lateral movement 80 milliseconds after it has been identified. So basically stopping lateral spread in machine time. All right, so breaking the kill chain. This goes back to the days when people did simple things like port scans and identify how we hack different devices. This kill chain came out by Lockheed Martin, and the whole idea is that it has 8 links. So if you can stop the threat along any one of these 8 links, then the threat will be extinguished. The arrows on the top show where JATP can be enforced and where ATP sits today. So it's in 5 of the 8 links, and you can stop any kind of 0-day. App secure, application awareness, and AV gateway are all part of this. Web filtering, next-gen firewalls. So reconnaissance and the bad guys have their tools probing the internet looking for weaknesses. So the SRX blocks it and says, go away, we don't want you. Then they weaponize it and attempt to deliver that exploit. When they try to install it, we can use SRX and JATP to stop that lateral movement. And if we see any command and control going out, we can stop it there and verify that malware can occur at any of these 8 links. So if we stop the threat anywhere, the problem's solved. Juniper Connected Security portfolio. It's a very diverse portfolio in the sense of hardware and software services. The architecture provides the same offering at different scale and performance. So you can cover mom and pop shops, data centers, public and private cloud, and service providers. They also have products that meet the needs of each and every one of these requirements. Virtual firewalls can help security connected to the public cloud or multiple VPC instances, and also provide microsegmentation. Applications are very service oriented. That shows which applications and which ones offer the particular service. So Juniper covers all bases of hardware, physical and virtual. So not just next-gen firewalls. There's a single dashboard for Security Director, and it manages all of these devices just the same. So you can define policy rather than configuring each firewall and push it across your network. And Juniper also offers a SIM, which they call JSA. There's also SkyTP and JATP. SkyTP is a advanced threat protection that lives in the cloud, and JATP is an on-premise appliance. And so there's basically both cloud and on-prem versions of ATP to help customers to have the scalability of a cloud or protection of keeping everything on-prem. With applications being very sophisticated and finding ways to attack the existing workloads and applications today, you need a specialized solution like JATP to connect the dots and see which other security products you have in your network. And it's a very well-rounded portfolio, moves up to the public and private cloud. And, like I said, there's a SIM for a single pane of glass, as well as JATP for covering advanced threats. So Security Director Manager, it's a single pane of glass manager where you can define a lot of security workflows and templates across all these security features that you can push across the firewalls and virtual services such as IPsec, NAT application, level policy. And it's a central pane of glass that you can configure and push across your entire infrastructure. If an application moves to a public cloud or another network, you can configure this by having the same security policies across your entire network, and you've got the diversity needs for applications today. What's really cool is the Security Director can manage 20,000 devices. So you want to make sure you're keeping track of your logs with Security Director, and the bullets really depend on your logging capabilities. So they can be retrieved to have a forensic trail, one place to go to help with all your configurations, and along with that, management of next-gen firewalls. So with Security Director Policy Enforcer, once a 0-day has been detected, there's a phishing attack where the variant is new. You download, the user clicks here and downloads for more information, and they're really just downloading an executable. So Security Director using ATP would then go to Security Director and say, hey, I've got something malicious here. Then the policy enforcer, based on the client's profile, will send a block. Then it'll go to SRX and say on a particular IP and MAC address on this port, a phishing attack is going on right now. At the threat point, you want to stop it, and also at the port level. So there's an automated script that you provide an IP address and MAC address, and it puts that in a penalty box VLAN. And then an ACL will be sent to the switch to make sure the user cannot log back in. So next-gen firewall capabilities, one of the very differentiated things with the SRX, in addition to being a full-fledged firewall, is that it also does routing and switching. So it has all of the fundamental ingredients when it's a router or a switch. You deploy a firewall and act in a sense of a router, especially in small branch offices where you might want to combine activities that you do with the Juniper SRX and combine everything into one single product. And because it runs Junos, it has the security features like IPsec, but can do the routing features just like a router would. It's great for collapsing products at a small branch that can terminate from a branch to provide one solution. It can terminate WAN connectivity from a service and run a routing protocol to run security services. You can run IPsec, VPN, just the same way as you would connect to a VPC. It also allows simple WAN connectivity, security services, SD-WAN application-based routing, so being able to route Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, etc. And just use the WAN connectivity for the internet. And if you want to use specialized applications to incorporate into your environment, then put those applications onto an IP sec tunnel. It enables you to do such features because it can do both routing and security in a single box. There's also an antivirus capability. Juniper has partnered with Sophos, so it does antivirus and anti-spam. And it's the Sophos engine that is now running on an SRX. That way you don't have to provide AV on all your endpoints. SRX with decrypt traffic and do AV to run on every host. And then there's a wild card in all of this, which is SSL inspection. Now, the main features are AV gateway, application awareness, IPS, URL filtering, but it also processes port 443 SSL traffic. And, as we know, about 70% of all web traffic is encrypted. So this is an essential feature. So the slide on 0-day security gap. Threats have become a lot more sophisticated and mask different levels of security. So you've got defense in depth, catch the hack down the line. You can catch threats that have never been seen before using JATP. SWG is a secure web gateway used in front of web servers. And today they do more like micro segmentation and other capabilities. Today we've done a great stuff with the known stuff, great job with the known stuff, and the pickets stop the threats really well. But then when we get into 0-day and advanced malware, where we look at what they're doing out there, there is no difference for it unless you have something that's looking at behavior. So if we're looking at the behavior, normal software doesn't go after machine registry information, and they also don't try to disguise themselves. So what is a sandbox? It's a place where all of your web traffic and email attachments go, and they're detonated to see if anything strange is going on with them. You'll look to see if there's any bad behavior, and it will put the malware into contained environments, looking for command and control, looking for operating system calls, anything that would be seen as abnormal, such as registry changes. And the sandbox uses deception techniques to make everything look as if it's running inside of a computer. Covers all dot extensions and macros, and they'll detonate in a sandbox. And Juniper uses over 110 different deception techniques. So the Juniper Advanced Threat Protection Architecture, you have the internet, and then you've got a firewall, an SWG, and JATP. So it's taking in malicious email attachments and malicious web links, doing analysis and determining if there is any malicious behavior. It'll also detect if there's lateral spread. So this solution detects threats that have never been seen before. Juniper also has a cloud version of ATP. So JATP is an appliance. SkyTP lives in the cloud. It's very simple to deploy. And you can also deploy VSRX with SkyTP to be able to do everything in the cloud. So you don't need to worry about hardware, and you can detect advanced threats and get analytics. So antivirus, firewall, secure gateway, they all tie in with Active Directory. And an operator can see timelines, people's names, where the logs came from, and it will ingest logs in a SIM-like fashion. And JTP can do the analytics for you when it comes to reporting. So a little bit about the openness of advanced threat analytics. It is an extremely open environment and can ingest log information from firewalls, not just SRX, but PAN and others. Also incorporates information from Active Directory, from JTP, from endpoints, and it correlates and aggregates all this information to provide the data into a SIM-like fashion and a single pane of glass. Juniper is also offering a free proof of concept. So we'll take in a JTP appliance and connect it to a TAP or a span port. And it sits out of line for 2 weeks to collect data. Then you put in an SRX in transparent mode for prevention. So the credentials and canned malware are used for injection. And then you get a report once it's all finished. And the SRX, it takes advantage of all of the features for not just firewall, but also routing and switching. And it will identify if there is any malicious behavior on your network. So at this point, I want to turn it over to Chani Agarwal, and she's going to show us a demo of JATP.
Thank you, Paul. Hi, everyone. I'm Chani Agarwal, and I'm here to talk about the Juniper Advanced Threat Prevention Appliance, the JATP, which plays a key piece in Juniper Connected Security. It collects web, email, and lateral traffic, identifies known as well as unknown threats, and provides comprehensive analytics detailing the progression of the threat within the environment by mapping the detections to the attack kill chain. So let us see it in action. This here is the dashboard of the JATP, which provides a time view of the host, which present a potential risk, essentially how bad it is. Down here you can see the malware trend with respect to time, and also the top 10 compromised endpoints. Uh, Now, over here, each bubble represents a host and incident. Also, the color represents the severity of the risks. The red ones are the high risk hosts, the medium ones are the orange one are the medium risk events, the yellow ones are the low risk events. Also, the size of the bubble represents the number of threats on that particular host. This one here has 15 incidents on it. Um, Looks like somebody needs to go talk to them. All right. So if you click on one bubble, you can see more details on the right hand side about that host. If this was connected to an Active Directory, we could also see the host name along with the IP address. We can also see details like the OS and the incident summary, and also the triggers which led to this event being called as an incident. The triggers that were hit were the static analysis engine, the network analysis engine, as well as the reputation of this file on the different media. If you click on the IP address here, we can analyze it further. This here presents the timeline view of that particular endpoint. Um, so different incidents that happened with respect to time. The incident that was right now collected was by the Juniper ATP. We can also inject logs from third party like the Carbon Black, the Palo Alto Next Generation Firewall, the Symantec endpoint, and also SRX and a few others, uh, which will actually show the seam-like features of the JATP. Now down here, you can see this more details on this particular incident. Let's actually view the incident and have a different view. Second, the summary view will provide the high-level info and also provides the kill chain representation of the threat progression. So you can see an exploit, a download, and an infection was detected, which represent the delivery, exploitation, and installation, and the command and control phase of the kill chain. We can also see other details like the source of this particular threat, which was our friends in Russia. Also, this infection that was detected was a result of a download and exploit on in actually the February March time frame. So this was the dwell time, and this analysis was done by JATP. Um, so let's go into the other tabs for more detailed analysis. The host tried to actually go on to this URL, and the exploit details can be seen. The next tab is the download tab, which is what we like to call as the detonation chamber, which is one of the most important tabs here. We can see that the download that this host was trying to do was this was the source URL, the file type was an executable, and now comes the malware indicators. Malware indicators are actually where the rubber meets the road. This is why JDP is as effective. So this particular file was trying to show some anti-sandboxing capabilities. So it tried to check the registry keys for sandbox artifacts. Um, Essentially, this is where we try to cuddle it and get it to detonate with things like emulating the keystrokes and others. So to bring out the real features of that particular file. It also tried to show some suspicious processes like opening the explorer process for code, maybe like code injection and other suspicious behaviors where um, it was trying to make some repeated calls for and play for time. All these behaviors are not typical of a legitimate file. So if this was an unknown, a 0-day kind of threat, even though we would not know it on the static analysis or the reputation or others, this is where it would detonate and tell us that it was actually a malware. The next tab here is the infection tab. So after the exploit and the download and waiting for the dwell time, this particular file tried to actually reach out to the command and control servers. So that's definitely where the infection happened. And we can actually mitigate that if we go into the summary section. There's a one click mitigate incident button where the indicators are automatically extracted and they're pushed onto the enforcement device. Let's look at another view. So let me refresh the data here. This is the incidents tab where all of the malware events that are detected by the JATP are um, displayed on the incident page as combined events. So we just now looked at a web-based event. Let's actually go back in time. So you can actually customize the time range as well. And let's go back and find an event that is based on an email collector. Let me see if we can find something. There it is. So this event was uh, an email based event that was, the source IP, a source email address was invoice at amazon.com. This was where it was targeted. If this user had an Amazon account, he might not think twice about opening this email. Um, yeah, and you can also see the progression of the kill chain. The next tab is the phishing tab, wherein this particular email actually had linked executable files to it, and that's where a JTP detected that this was a phishing email and gave it the severity of zero point 0.5. Along with the linked URLs, this email tried to do some downloads. It was trying to download some uh, composite document file, V2 documents, and you can see the file type and the size and the hashes, and also again the malware indicators. For this it was trying to do some suspicious file drops. It was trying to opening itself, and then it was also trying to create new files. This is again something that is not typical of an email download. So JTP, triggered it to be a malware, in fact, with medium risk. The next tab here that I want to show is the file uploads. So along with collecting from the web and email, we can also upload files here, and then JTP will analyze it and give the verdict. We just now saw the mitigation, on one particular host. We can also mitigate multiple events via the mitigation tab. The next thing I want to show, the next feature is the reports feature. So JTP gives us the option of creating two types of reports, the executive report and the technical report. Um, you can very well have them on demand, or you can also create them uh, on schedule. So for things like monthly meetings with the CIOs, you can create an executive report by monthly intervals, or for your weekly stand-ups, things like that. You can have them in the HTML as well as the PDF format. So, and also you can specify the date range here. I have actually already created one of the reports, which is an executive report, and the time frame is last week, and it's an HTML report. So if I hit display here, you can see a nice report with the graphs and charts instead of a lot of words, where you can see the traffic analysis, the unique IPs, the malware statistics, the objects in terms of the OS and the number of them, the malware types, the malware vectors and the detection engine, the progression summary with respect to the kill chain, also the top countries of the malware source, malware detection breakdown, and the last thing, which is the malware targets. And you could see the host names if it was connected to an active directory. So let's go back here. One small thing I want to show in the end is if you go back to the dashboard section and the research page. Let's actually look at um, this one here, Trojan KZ. If we click on it, so these are the top malwares that were hit, you can see the different downloads that were done by this particular malware were for these hosts. So I did a little bit research and found out that this particular Trojan was actually for the financial sector. So if we could go in here, and if you find out most of the people here are maybe in the accounting team or whatever, so that's something that could be of concern. So the security team can do the research from this tab and find out if they are affected or not. All right, that's all I had. Thank you so much for listening in.
So the first question is, when Sky ATP is used and has to send email attachments and web links to the cloud, what is the latency, and do you have multiple POPs to send data based on geographical region? Yeah, that's a good question. Juniper has multiple POPs for Sky ATP covering different geographical regions around the world. There are POPs in the US and Oregon and Virginia. There's also one in Toronto, Canada. And additionally, there's a POP in Amsterdam covering Europe and another one in Singapore covering PAC Asia. Next question, what are the factors that are considered when deciding whether to deploy Sky ATP versus JATP? So Sky ATP is used when you don't want to have an additional appliance and want to be able to do sandboxing in the cloud. Some customers, especially government agencies, want to keep everything on-prem for security reasons, so they will deploy the JATP appliance. Last question, you mentioned that JATP ingests logs from a variety of sources, including security solutions from other vendors. Isn't that just like a SIM? JATP has some SIM-like features, but it is not a SIM. Some of these features include data aggregation, correlation, dashboards, and reporting. Functionality of a SIM that are not included are compliance, data retention, forensic analysis, as well as vulnerability management.
Thank you all for joining this webinar. That's all the time we have for today. Please be sure to stay tuned for our next month's webinar, which continues our networking series. Remember to register for future webinars and catch up on any past webinars by visiting our website at www.rahisystems.com.